It was one of the most chaotic, explosive reality shows on television, a show that turned everyday pawnshop drama into a cultural phenomenon. But behind the screaming customers, security guards, and outrageous deals, something darker was brewing. And in the end, it wasn't the ratings, the network, or even the competition that destroyed Hardcore Pawn. It was something much closer to home. Asterisk when Hardcore Pawn first hit the airwaves in 2010. It was like nothing else on TV. Set in the gritty streets of Detroit, the show followed the Gold family, Les, his daughter Ashley, and his son Seth as they ran American Jewelry and Loan, one of the busiest pawn shops in America. It was loud, intense, and unapologetically real. Viewers couldn't get enough of the shouting matches, the bizarre items, and the constant tension between customers who were one bad day away from breaking down. It wasn't just a pawn show, it was a raw glimpse into desperation, survival, and the drama of a family business barely holding together. For years, Hardcore Pawn dominated TrueTV. It became the network's flagship series, pulling in millions of viewers every week. Fans loved Les Gold's no-nonsense attitude, Ashley's fierce determination, and Seth's slick business sense. But behind those explosive episodes was a truth that the cameras only hinted at, a family divided by pride, ego, and fame. As the show grew more popular, the real tension wasn't just between the customers and the Golds. It was between the Golds themselves. At first, the arguments between Seth and Ashley seemed like TV gold, perfect drama for the cameras. They'd clash over who ran the store better, who deserved more credit, and who was truly ready to take over their father's empire. But what started as entertainment slowly turned into real bitterness. The fights became genuine. The smiles faded. Viewers noticed that the chemistry was gone, replaced by tension that even clever editing couldn't hide. Les Gold, the patriarch, tried to hold things together. But as the show went on, it became clear that the fame that built Hardcore Pawn was also tearing it apart. The shop had become less of a business and more of a stage, and the family dynamic that once felt authentic began to look scripted and strained. Fans who once tuned in for chaos started to sense that the chaos wasn't fun anymore. It was exhausting. Then came the downfall. Ratings started to dip. Viewers complained that the show had become repetitive, that every episode was the same argument, the same angry customer, the same predictable outcome. TrueTV, once built on edgy reality shows, began shifting toward comedy programming. And suddenly, Hardcore Pawn, the show that once defined the network, didn't fit anymore. By 2015, the final season aired quietly. There was no grand finale, no emotional goodbye. It simply faded away. A show that burned bright and fast but couldn't survive its own success. The pawn shop, however, didn't disappear. Les and his family continued running American Jewelry and Loan. But without the cameras, the spotlight dimmed and the world moved on. So what really killed Hardcore Pawn? It wasn't the customers, the drama, or even the changing TV landscape. It was the one thing that made it so addictive in the first place: conflict. The same raw, unfiltered family tension that drew viewers in ultimately destroyed the unity behind the scenes. What began as reality entertainment turned into real reality, too real to continue in the end. Hardcore Pawn wasn't just a show about business. It was a cautionary tale about how fame can turn family into rivals and authenticity into artifice. It lived fast, burned bright, and died by its own fire. The Golds may have survived, but the show that made them legends couldn't survive them, and that the collapse of the very family that built it is the one thing that killed Hardcore Pawn forever.